Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another brand new Mattel Jurassic World Rebirth release, but we actually have something that I have been looking for quite a bit lately. We have the Sound Surge version of the T-Rex, and that's really exciting because this one's been pretty hard to find here in the United States. I was lucky enough to find this one at my local Kohls, and I actually found some of the 12-inch basics there as well, so if you are looking for those, check your local Kohls. You might get lucky and find some. There was actually an entire Jurassic World Rebirth stand there that included these as well as a lot of other figures like the Spino, the Wild Roars, the Frenzy Packs, a whole bunch of stuff. But you can see again the packaging is pretty much as it usually is for the Sound Surge figures, but of course you can see the Jurassic World Rebirth logo and then the Tyrannosaurus name down there, and then of course a little open area where we can see the T-Rex, though I am a little suspicious about this one. And then here on the back you can basically see a shot of the T-Rex, and then down here the Carnotaurus and Giganotosaurus, which are the other two in the Sound Surge wave. So let's pop this open and check it out. So here is our brand new half-naked Sound Surge Tyrannosaurus for Rebirth, and of course they show off the part here that does look pretty exciting all the way down here into the neck before the paintwork just completely is gone, which is pretty typical for these Sound Surge figures. But my fear for this figure has absolutely come true. Basically, it's been confirmed, and that is the fact that this is not a new sculpt. I actually thought all the way leading up to this point that we were going to have, one of the newer updated sculpts for the Sound Surge T-Rex, but in reality it is the older sculpt from Mattel, just repainted. So there's not a whole lot honestly different about this Sound Surge Rex compared to the older versions, and this is actually I think the third, maybe even the fourth paint variant we've had out for this version of the Sound Surge T-Rex, which is definitely a bit upsetting because I was really again hoping to see that absolutely incredible new sculpt from Mattel utilized on the Sound Surge version. But you can basically see again overall the only thing we would really need to go over would be the paintwork for this one. Primarily it is a grayish tone of color, and you do see a nice speckling though throughout the entire figure. Actually, it's very abundant. Another thing that's pretty much a dead giveaway on this are all of the scars here on the face are very much so on the older sculpt of this figure. No new sculpt here. But you can see again we have a dark blackish tone. I would say a dark gray I was going to say at first, but it might be a black. It looks dark gray here in the snout, but then when you move up to the top it definitely looks like potentially black. But you can see that move over the snout, kind of striped down. It also circles around the eye and then starts to stripe down here through the neck, but as quickly as it shows up, it is gone in typical Sound Surge fashion. Outside of that, as you move through the figure, it is super naked. Like, there is really not much to it when it comes to the paintwork of these figures. Now, I know they are kind of like basic versions with articulation in the mouth and a little bit of sound, but I really would expect at least a little bit more paint application on these guys. I wish they would just include just that little bit more. Could be a massive improvement for this figure because again, it looks super naked. The lack of any amount of nail paint or anything like that, and then of course the just in general of having one solid tone of color for the entire body is really quite depressing to look at for this figure. But you do at least again have that speckling moving through the body, even though that's definitely not going to make up for the severe lack of paint apps. We do have an articulated jaw, or we're supposed to. There we go. I accidentally pushed the button there on the back, but you do have an articulated jaw, which you can see can open pretty wide, and that does at least look kind of cool. And we do have a pinkish tone for the inside of the mouth, only on the tongue and the skin stretching here, not on the upper jaw. I think that might be the most open amount of articulation that you've had on any Tyrannosaur when it comes to Mattel. Like, you can really get that open, and this skin stretches far enough that it actually still looks, absolutely insane, but pretty good overall. They did a good job as far as that goes, at least. But you can see the teeth are also painted with a light yellowish tone, and we do have a yellow for the eyes, and then kind of a black pupil, but that's basically the color that we have there for that area of the head. Again, outside of the articulated jaw, I hit the button again. We do also have articulation in the arms, forward and back, articulation in the legs, forward and back. We do still have those oversized clown feet for the T-Rex since it is the older sculpt. You can see a swivel for the ankles, and then the tail articulation, all pretty much the standard sort of articulation that you have for most Mattel Tyrannosaurs. And then the button... Somehow the noises sound really bad. I don't understand what exactly is going on with those, but they sound terrible. You do have to at least give Mattel, I guess, a little bit of props for painting the inside of the mouth on this one, because some of the older ones don't have any paintwork even for the inside of the mouth, which is pretty crazy to say, but that's true. But again, I don't think we really need to do much else. You know, we've already reviewed this sculpt. This is the third time now, so we don't need to do sizes, comparisons, anything really for this one. I think the only comparison that I'll do is this, because we do have the newer 12-inch basic Rebirth T-Rex, which you can see is in fact the newer sculpt of the Tyrannosaurus, just a little bit of a disaster as far as the proportions go, next to the Rebirth Sound Surge version, and you can very clearly see that one is based off of Rexy as far as the sculpt goes. So kind of similar in size. The Sound Surge is a bit larger, but overall these figures again, are both pretty lackluster as a whole. So this brand new Mattel Jurassic World Rebirth Sound Surge Tyrannosaurus is fairly lazy. Honestly, it overall is a very lazy figure from Mattel, because although they did give us a new repaint, they could have given us a really cool version of the Sound Surge T-Rex if they had actually given us the new sculpt, because the new sculpt features I would say the best detail we've ever seen on a Tyrannosaurus in the Mattel line. But for some reason, we've chosen to go with the new color scheme on the older sculpt. And, I really feel like they could have at least put in that little bit of effort to give us the Sound Surge version with the newer sculpt, and it would have been a way cooler figure. But unfortunately, we are left with the older sculpt. It's not like it's a horrible sculpt. It does look fun. It is a pretty cool figure. But the newer version is definitely far superior when it comes to the fine detail. That said, it is pretty much the standard when it comes to the Sound Surge figures, nearly naked as far as the paintwork goes. Playability of the figure is fairly limited, but you do have some okay articulation on it, which I guess is pretty fun. And the articulated jaw on this one is actually kind of neat because it does open really wide. But you also have some noises. The noises sound really strange. They don't sound good. And when you look on the one side, like the battery compartment and the area where the sound escapes from is out in the open, as obvious as it gets, so that is also quite the eyesore. So definitely a mixed bag here, but still kind of fun, I guess. If you are interested, check your local Kohls. You can grab it there, hopefully, if your area does in fact have them. Again, just look around, find the little Jurassic stand that is there currently, and grab it from there. And of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.